Hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Footballin' Show. So today's episode, Thursday night, player pause, week 9. I'm doing it for the Houston Texans. And you're probably thinking to yourself, sorry, wait for this plane 1 second. How many startable fantasy people are there for the Texans? Well, you could probably count them on one hand. Even if you had one finger, you could do that. So, not many. But first off, if I could ask, if you could just help us out. I mean, we don't get anything out of it other than, dopamine to our brains. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you so much to our 26th subscriber. I woke up to that today, and that made my day. I was wondering why I was having such a good day at work. I was riding that dopamine high. Anyways, sorry, it was a different camera angle because I wanted to get him in that shot. And hey, if you don't like this video, thumbs down, tell us what we're doing wrong. Love in the comments, dialogue, sweet stuff. Let's get into this. Davis Mills. So Eagles are the second toughest defense against quarterbacks right now. They've had a really easy schedule for the most part, but still, they're a really good defense. And Mills just threw for 150 yards and one touchdown versus Tennessee. So he only has one game this season where he's thrown over 250 yards and 0 games with 3 touchdowns. So unless you're in a two quarterback league, and 12-man, you're probably actually looking at him. But not for us. So you're pressing pause. Next up, my man, our man. We were on him, one of the first people. Like the first day of that Reddit train. Well, first time we saw him in preseason. Hey, Dameon Pierce. Eagles are 14th best against fantasy running backs this year. And he only managed, 15 for 35 last week, but he had that. I mean, I owned him, and I needed that. I was just, devastated. Because it was such a low-scoring game, at least, he didn't get game scripted out, but he was getting shut down completely. Yards per carry, everything. And then he got that receiving touchdown at the end. So it's nice to know that he can, he's a receiving back because he hasn't really been getting much receptions, and especially in the red zone. That's really big for him. So that saved a week, for him last week, and that was going to be one of his first bad weeks in a long time. And you can see this coming up they're going to be down probably multiple touchdowns really fast. So as far as the Titans, they went up only 4, they went up 14. It was such a low-scoring game. It was still reasonable for them to run it. And I know it's Lovie Smith, and he likes to run the ball regardless. But this could get out of hand pretty fast. So, as much as I love Dameon Pierce, I think this might be his worst game of the season as far as fantasy points go. I'm hoping for, 60 yards rushing and 1 touchdown and maybe a couple receptions. And that's, what I'm hoping for. So, I'm hoping... Hey, you know what? They're going to stack the boxes, and you know what happens when that happens is explosive plays from the running back, and he's an explosive player, just like that 70-yard touchdown he had. It was perfect blocking, but it was a stacked box on a sweep. So he has a puncher's chance. You play Dameon Pierce. I'm playing him. He's my running back 2 right now. Brandon Cooks coming off a game with the second highest yardage of the year with 73. He had 82 in week 1. I was really high on Brandon Cooks, just like everybody else in the preseason, because it was like a low end wide receiver 1 going in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. So, but now everything is turned around this year. He's not getting the targets. I mean, there's such a small piece of he's throwing I was just saying he doesn't throw for any yards, Davis Mills. So even if he gets 50% of the target share, he has to score. He's still touchdown dependent, and you don't want a player like that. I'm in a 10-man league, and I actually just was so upset. I mean, like I said, I went the same call. I love Brandon Cooks, Oregon State, baby. But I dropped him. Because I forgot who I dropped him for. Can't remember. I was making a lot of moves. Oh, man. You know what I had to do? I had to pick up Dontrell Hilliard, the backup for... Derrick Henry today, because Derrick Henry's foot was whatever, and I can't afford to be losing out on Derrick Henry production. And Dontrell Hilliard is a very competent backup, so I had to drop Brandon Cooks because he hasn't done anything for me in a long time. So anyways, he averaged 11 targets his first 2 weeks, and he's averaging 6 targets per game since week 3. So 6 targets per game in this offense. Dude, it sucks. You're pausing on Brandon Cooks. I live right next to an airport, if you can't tell. And so here's the tight end combination, right? B. Jordan and O.J. Howard. Jordan is the top. So Jordan's the top of the depth chart, and led O.J. Howard by 1 target last game. But and then Jordan is averaging 4 targets a game and has not scored more than 2.0 fantasy this year. And if you remember, O.J. Howard had that huge game week 1, which is like classic fantasy. It's like Sammy Watkins-esque, like score 2 touchdowns, go nuclear week 1, and then just disappear off the face of the earth. Because man, I really did believe in O.J. Howard in the beginning of this year with this offense, but man, it just sucks. This offense sucks. Only person you want is Pierce. So, anyways, yeah, O.J. had his first reception since week 4 last week, so he's really a non-factor. So if you're in some crazy deep league and you have to start some tight end from whatever, Jordan would be the man. Houston D. Yeah, so Houston D will either score 0 fantasy points or 10 fantasy points. And I'm thinking 0 fantasy points. If you look at the way they score this year, it's like 0, 10, 0, 10, 0, 10. This is a 0. And I'm being generous because it's probably going to be in the negatives. Who started a defense with the I've had a couple players get negative points this year. I think Trey Lance was one of them. I can't remember. Anyways, and then the kicker, Fairbairn, he's the number 10 fantasy kicker right now. But, like I said, in this game script, it's like a really good defense with a team that has a really good offense. They're just going to go up by like 3 scores so fast. And I don't really think they're going to be sitting there trying to kick field goals to catch up. So I think he'll probably get a couple of field goals, and that's about it. So, yeah. As far as Brandon Cooks goes, I bet you'll get like, he got 4. He keeps on getting like 4 for this, 4 for that. I bet you he gets like, maybe they try to placate him after this trade, all this trade stuff, and give him a good game. But I still don't want to trust this, Maybe drop some more Brandon Cooks plays. I bet you he gets like 7 targets and gets like 80 yards. It'll be his best game of the year, except for that touchdown game. His best yardage game of the year. Dude, he might get a garbage town touchdown. You know what? Brandon Cooks, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. And I'm telling you to pause him. It's very conflicting. You know what? If you're in a deep enough league, flex Brandon Cooks. Go for it. I'm sorry. This is what happens when I think out loud. The more I keep on telling people, the more you know about fantasy football, the more you get wrong. The worse you are. It's like you overthink stuff. You get all this information. That's all you think about. Anyways, yeah, so Fairbairn. So last time he went against a really good defense was week 2 at Denver, and he scored 11 points. But Denver had a horrible offense, so it was a close game. And he only scored 5 points last week against Tennessee, and that was a close game too. So as much as I love starting tight ends and kickers on Thursday night just for the heck of it, just because I love watching football and being involved in fantasy on as many given days as I can, I would start whoever you can start the backup tight end on the Eagles before you start these fools. So yeah, again, thank you so much to our subscriber number 26. Amazing day today, all because of you. And we will come back to you on Friday with a couple of tall cans in our hand. Later.